Right now, there's a conflict escalating that could end up killing a quarter of the world's population. And it's not Ukraine or the US and China or anything related to the Middle East. It's between India and Pakistan. This is a flashpoint that rarely gets enough news coverage, given that both countries have nuclear weapons, and if they use them, they could trigger something called nuclear winter, which could end up killing 2 billion people. Welcome to Buried Origins. Now, a conflict which might end up killing a quarter of the world's population might seem like an exaggeration, but it's really not. And today, I'll explain why by walking us through the process of nuclear winter and its devastating consequences. But first, we need to understand the history of India and Pakistan and why they have such hostile relations. So, let's get into it. A quick recap of the history. India was once the crown jewel of the British Empire, but World War II led to a collapse of the empire's power and caused it to withdraw from most of its major colonies, including India. Now, what was referred to as India at the time was absolutely massive. It included territory that now makes up 5 different countries: modern-day India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Myanmar. It was incredibly diverse, ethnically, religiously, and linguistically, and not all of it was ruled directly by the British, as there were 560 different princely states, or little kingdoms, that got to have their own monarchs as long as they swore allegiance to the British crown. But the withdrawal of the British created absolute chaos, as was so often the case when the empire left its colonies. Muslims feared becoming a persecuted minority in a Hindu-majority state, and although the different communities explored the option of existing in one new country, eventually negotiations failed, and in a bid to avoid civil war, the best course of action was seen as partition, dividing India into 2 independent countries, one for Muslims, Pakistan, and another which would be majority Hindu but officially secular, India. This of course failed horribly, and the partition in 1947 led to massive communal violence on a scale of many wars, with 800,000 to 1 million people dying in moderate estimates. Now, the consequences of the partition are extensive, and I can't get into all of them here, but for our purposes, we need to understand what happened to one of the 560 princely states, Jammu and Kashmir, often simply referred to as Kashmir. It's an area at the base of the Himalayan mountains, which was on the predicted border between the 2 new countries. Now, each of the 560 princely states was given the option to join either India or Pakistan, and the ruler of Jammu Kashmir, Hari Singh, made the very controversial decision to join India. This was controversial because Jammu Kashmir is majority Muslim and it's in a very strategic location, in between the 2 new countries and in a key area for trade, military positioning, and water resources, so both of the new countries really wanted it. The people of Jammu Kashmir themselves were deeply divided, with many Muslims wanting to join Pakistan and many Hindus and Sikhs wanting to join India, while Hari Singh wanted to establish an independent kingdom with himself as monarch. Now, Pakistan didn't like that idea at all, and armed tribal militias to go into Jammu Kashmir and seize it. In response, Hari Singh asked India for support against the attacking tribes, to which India agreed on the condition that Jammu Kashmir join India, to which Hari Singh agreed. So India deployed its military and went to war with Pakistan in Jammu Kashmir, a war that lasted from 1947 to 1948. When the war ended, India controlled 2/3 of the former state of Jammu Kashmir. But the important thing to mention here is that the end of the war definitely did not end the dispute over the territory. Both countries claimed the entirety of Jammu Kashmir fiercely, and they fought 3 wars over the territory, with this just being the first. The next war came in 1965, when Pakistan disguised thousands of soldiers as civilians and sent them into Jammu Kashmir to incite a local rebellion. The plan failed entirely and escalated into another war, which eventually ended up with no territorial changes. So, since the turn of the millennium, the 2 countries haven't fought an all-out war, but they have come very close on many occasions. There have been several terror attacks in India, for which India has blamed Pakistan and retaliated with overt military force. But thankfully, in the end, cooler heads have always prevailed. And we should all be very thankful for that, because one of the many things that has changed since those 2 fought their last war is that they have both developed fully capable nuclear arsenals. Today, both countries are thought to have about 150 nuclear warheads each and a reliable means of delivering them to each other's cities. And here is where we get into nuclear winter. Now, India is the world's most populous country, and Pakistan the world's 5th largest, and projections on the number of immediate deaths vary from 50 to 150 million people. As horrific as that figure is, that's just from the immediate impact of the bombs, which is not how this war could end up killing 2 billion people. And it's not from radiation either, although that would take its toll. No, it's from something called nuclear winter, which is a predicted scenario when so much black carbon soot from burning cities hit by nuclear explosions is released into the upper atmosphere that it blocks out the sun and drops global temperatures drastically. In the case of a full nuclear exchange between India and Pakistan that targets each country's cities, a nuclear winter would likely be triggered. But how severe it is depends on a lot of things, and we don't understand the effects of nuclear winter very well, since it's never happened. But several peer-reviewed studies across prominent publications, such as the Journal of Geophysical Research, Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, and Earth's Future, show that even in mild scenarios, like 100 Hiroshima-sized bombs, detonated on urban centers in Pakistan and India, would release an estimated 5 to 7 million tons of black carbon soot into the stratosphere, where it would stay for years, cool the Earth by 1.5 to 5 degrees Celsius, and prevent rainfall. Now that drop in temperature is not a good thing at all, because the lack of sun and cooler temperatures would lead to a drastic reduction in crop yields globally and collapse entire food supply chains, leading to the starvation of a minimum of 1 billion people, but possibly up to 2 billion just in the first 1 to 2 years. Those are some stark numbers, but they're from a mild scenario of 100 small-yield nuclear bombs, when in reality, India and Pakistan have 300 bombs between them, all much stronger than what the studies use in their modeling. The fact that these two countries, which have continued to fight over the past decades, could kill a quarter of humanity is simply not talked about enough. It's especially relevant today, as tensions between the two countries are among the highest they've ever been. This is related to a terror attack in Jammu Kashmir that happened on April 22nd. Now, as I mentioned, over the years there have been a series of terror attacks in India that the Indian government has blamed on Pakistan, and this one is no different. But what is different is how strongly the Indian government has responded to the attack. Throughout all of the wars that India and Pakistan have fought, India has never crossed an important red line. It's never abandoned the Indus Water Treaty, an agreement between the two countries on water distribution from the Indus River, a river which originates from Indian-controlled Kashmir. This treaty is extremely important to Pakistan, as the river is the lifeblood of Pakistan's agriculture and economy. A full 20% of the country's GDP comes from agriculture, almost all of which is dependent on water from the Indus River. But India has said it will no longer abide by the treaty, which means that it can build dams on the sections of the river that it controls and limit water flow to Pakistan. So things are very serious right now, and Indian and Pakistani forces have already clashed in Jammu Kashmir. Things are currently entering a cycle of escalation, with India bombing alleged militant camps in both Pakistani-occupied Kashmir as well as internationally recognized Pakistan on May 7th, killing dozens. In response to this, Pakistan launched missiles at military positions in Indian-occupied Kashmir the day after. This cycle of escalation can easily lead to nuclear war, as India's military is significantly stronger than Pakistan's, and in a full-scale engagement, Pakistan may feel its only option is to use nuclear weapons. So now we have to see if cooler heads prevail, or if we potentially see the start of the deadliest war in human history, and it's not even on the news that much. Well, that's all for today. If you liked the video, please share and subscribe. See ya.